Something that not a lot of people might know about me is, well, you wouldn't tell it by looking at me, but I'm a huge Star Wars fan. Basically, my entire life revolves around Star Wars. When I'm not painting, I'm probably reading a Star Wars book or something, or collecting action figures. I don't have too many of those at all. Hi folks, I'm Thomas Vino, an artist here in Moncton, New Brunswick. I grew up in MIRAMICHI, New Brunswick, and then I went to school for music, religious studies, and philosophy at Mount Allison in Sackville, New Brunswick. And then I just moved to Moncton after that, just because it was the closest place. And here I am, 13 years later. My original interest in art, I guess, came from Linda Gallant. She's another wonderful artist in Niguac, New Brunswick. And she kind of got me started in high school, and she kind of pushed me to keep on going with my art. And years later, I have a house full of canvases, so yay. I suppose one memorable childhood experience revolving around art would be when I was around 8 or 9 years old. I had the wonderfully bright idea to do a little drawing for the Queen of England. So I did up this little drawing of her, in front of Buckingham Palace and like her little guards and stuff out front. And I asked my grandmother, how on earth am I going to get this letter to the Queen of England of all places? And she was just like, just put Buckingham Palace on the envelope, it'll make its way there. And then probably like 8 or 9 months later, I got a letter from the Queen saying, thank you for your drawing. She really appreciated it, whatever. It was from one of her ladies in waiting, so I guess it wasn't exactly from the Queen, but close enough. So I guess that was my first claim to fame in the art world, so if Queen Elizabeth II likes my work, you should too. I suppose I always knew from an early age that I was kind of artistic. I was kind of a sickly child, so I'd spend a lot of time in the hospital. So the nurses would actually give me crayons and like coloring books and things like that. And so I guess I was always kind of busy working away on different little art projects when I was a kid, craft projects, things like that. And that turned into stealing my sister's makeup when I was a kid as well, stealing her like nail polishes and eyeshadows and stuff, and like doing all kinds of colorful drawings. And so I guess that's kind of where it started from an early age, and I just developed it, as I said, through high school with my art teacher. Throughout university, I just kind of developed furthering my style and whatnot. So yeah, anyway, long story short, I guess it all started when I was younger, like a lot of things tend to do, I guess. I'm not really sure what my artwork is trying to say. Be yourself, be true to who you are. If you're having a crappy day, have a crappy day. If you're feeling yourself, feel yourself. Just be who you are. Don't be ashamed of I'm a person who's dealt with mental health issues and addiction issues over the years. That's something that I've kind of worked on, certainly over the years, but you have to kind of embrace that first. So don't ever be afraid of who you are. It's pretty, it's ugly, it's whatever you think it is. But yeah, I like to see, I like to see if there's a sense of hope in my work, or a sense of beautiful, even if the images might be a little ugly or something like that. So yeah. My artwork has always been a little bit on the grotesque but beautiful side. I think that's kind of life, especially in each of us as well. We all have a dichotomy. We're all good and bad in some respects. We're all ugly and we're all beautiful. So I've always been kind of drawn to that subject matter, I guess. You can see something that's absolutely frightening, but you can see it in a beautiful way, and it's just kind of makes you think a little different. Maybe about yourself as well. So that's kind of what I like to do in my work. I kind of like to put a little bit of myself in the work so that you can maybe see a little bit of yourself in the work, because I think that we all feel the same emotions, we all feel the same things. So it's just a way to connect with the audience, I guess. So I have been known to use watercolors and watercolor papers, but my main medium is acrylic paints on canvas. I try to source everything locally if I can. I have a local person who makes a lot of my canvases now, Green Zen, check them out. However, a painting, usually if I'm starting a painting, it'll just kind of come to me as a thought, an image, something. And of course, once I get going, that image and that thought and whatever the painting started off can kind of change as it goes. Kind of like people, we change as we go. So I've had some paintings that I've done commissioned that would take up to 10 months. Some paintings I can do in a day. So it just depends on the flow, depends on what the piece is. So yeah, there's never really a particular time frame. It's just kind of, you go and run with it, and when it's done, it just kind of tells me that it's done. My biggest artistic influences would be Francis Bacon. I love his style, 1950s, started in the 1950s, I believe, but his work was very emotive, raw, and kind of that ugly, grotesque style that really drew me in. For watercolors, my biggest inspiration is probably Marilyn Manson, of all people. He's a wonderful watercolor artist, and just his sense of flow and style, and once again that kind of ugly but really beautiful imagery. And that's something that I've just always been drawn to. And then of course for someone a little more less abstract, Van Gogh, I guess, because I love the movement in his paintings. And that's something that I've always tried to emulate, is just a little bit of motion and such in my work. So yeah, those would probably be my biggest influences. Well, I basically started my career kind of on my own, painting in my home studio. I've held a few art shows over the years, kind of on my own again. Luckily, I did them at my workplace. They were very generous enough to afford me the space. And I did actually start, selling work right away when I first started painting, which was really nice. It's always a good little boost in the arm to get some support right away. But over the years, I've kind of developed my style. I've tried to especially take use of online platforms, social media the last couple of years. That's really helped kind of free promotion, for lack of a better word. And yeah, I've just kind of taken my business from there and just try to build it as much as I can and get my name out there as much as I can.
Get your vino on. Get your vino on. Get your vino on. Come on everybody, get your vino on. 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 Come on everybody, get your vino on.
Pricing is always a difficult thing to figure out. I judge it mainly on the size of the piece and kind of the time that it takes me to do it. If you want to know my secret formula, I kind of charge $1 per square inch plus a little bit of my time, which my art teacher Linda Gallant would always still tell me that it's way too low. But you have to try and make your work a little affordable, so you have to find that healthy balance of make it worth selling, but also make it worth doing, if that makes any sense. Art is always worth doing, don't get me wrong. But you want to be able to get your work out there, so you have to find kind of that healthy balance of a price range where people are going to be able to get your work. Also, I've started doing prints recently as well, which is a lot more affordable for most people. So doing prints is also a good way to get your work out there and sold as well. So yeah. The best thing about being an artist, I guess, is the freedom that I have to kind of say what I want in a certain respect. Sometimes may have difficulty trying to get out a certain thought or a certain idea, or how I feel about a certain thing, and it's for me it's a lot easier to say it in a painting than it might be to say it with words. So that would definitely be the biggest thing, I think, is just the freedom of expression, the freedom to express myself and others. You know, I try to be as inclusive with my own community, try to give the voice to the LGBTQ plus community, other communities out there that may need a voice who don't necessarily have one. So I hope that people can kind of find themselves in my work in that respect. So that's definitely the best thing about it, yeah, is the communication, the freedom, and just being myself on the canvas. The whole pandemic situation did obviously affect me, as it did everybody. I did end up losing my job for a little while, but that did afford me the time to kind of get started on my business. So, silver lining, it was, I hate to say it, but it was probably the best thing that ever happened for my business, just because it did give me the time to actually focus on it, build a website, get started with like Canada Post. I got my print started, all of that. So I don't know if I would have forced myself to sit down and do all that under normal circumstances. So that's my silver lining for that whole situation, as terrible as it was. So yeah, that would probably be the only good thing to come out of that. Advice to the youth, especially myself: patience. Patience is a virtue for sure. It's definitely one thing I've learned setting up my business as well. But patience and just perseverance, keep at it. Whatever you want to do, don't give up, because you never know unless you try. I certainly didn't know, and I tried, and now I know I have a little something. So just, yeah, believe in yourself, be true to who you are, and patience. Painting that I recently did a print of, it's called Ghosts in the Walls. This particular piece, it just kind of reflects, you know, everyone kind of has skeletons in their closets and that sort of thing. Which I'd also like to mind or note that I mentioned dealing with mental health issues and addiction earlier on. I'd like to note that I've been sober for 2 years now, and hopefully if yourself is dealing with any issues, find any help that you need, and because it's out there, and it's much better this way. So anyway, just a little note on that. This is another painting I featured recently in one of my videos, Melt. It's called, just one of my beautiful abstract pieces from 2015. It was a very busy year for me, so you'll find a lot of pieces from that year in my collection. But yeah, that's that one. This is a drag queen that I painted. Juliet Romeo is her name. Just a little representation for the community if you want to get a little shot of her.
Mommy, can I have a new dolly?
I just bought you that. It will have to do.
Can I have a new truck?
Trucks are far too expensive.
Can I has a new octopus then?
You've just flushed your 4th one this week. No. What is it?
Can I have a print or original painting from thomasvino.com?
Why, yes, absolutely. What a remarkably talented and handsome young artist right here in Moncton, New Brunswick. For the sake of your betterment, I'm going to thomasvino.com right now, and I'm going to buy you all the prints you like.
Wow, thanks, Mommy. You're the greatest.
So you can follow me on Facebook at Thomas Vino Artist, Twitter at ArtVino, Instagram Thomas_Vino. I'm on Etsy as well, and TikTok Thomas Vino Artist. And you can also go to my website, thomasvino.com.